This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. It's quite fun living in Asia. I never know what to expect. Really, I have no clue. I don't know what's going to happen on any particular day. Now, I guess that could be the same anywhere, but I seriously doubt it would be the same. The unexpected, the daily unexpected. I seriously doubt that would be the same if I was living in the Washington, D.C. area where I grew up, because not much changes there. Oh, they might have a few new buildings. They might extend the metro, the train. They might expand the highways. But the thinking, the government worker thinking, it's the same and it will never change. In fact, it's only accelerating. It's only becoming more and more and more. So there's not anything unique. It doesn't really stimulate you. Now, I can't say the same for a place like New York City, because if you run in the right crowds in New York City, you're going to get stimulated. You're going to bump into interesting people. That can for sure happen. So here I am in Asia, connected to New York City. How am I connected to New York City? Well, in the last few weeks, I've had the good fortune to spend a little time in Asia with Larry Hite. Larry Hite, the famed trader, trading manager, founded Mint, originally profiled in Jack Schwager's Market Wizards. Larry and I have been friends since, I think, 2005. Now, my first book came out in 2004, and the book was a big hit, Trend Following. And right when the book was starting to take off, I thought to myself, well, okay, I know nothing about this author stuff, but you learn fast that if you have a bestseller, well, hell, you might as well go in for part two. You might start to go down the path of, hey, let's write another book. So in early 2005, on the heels of 8 months of success of my first book, I reached out to like a dozen fund managers, some of the biggest names in the world: Toby Crable, David Harding, Larry Hite. Everybody agreed to meet with me because they liked the Trend Following book. They liked where I had gone with it. And I met Larry for the first time up in his office in New York City, and he's quite the character. And he's still quite the character. So Larry shows up in Asia. We had a chance. Now, we've seen each other since 2005 many times. I had a chance to moderate a panel with him and Ed Seykota a few years back in Chicago. We've had many, many meetings in New York City, etc. But this was our first chance to see each other in about 2 years. And I must say, seeing Larry in Asia, quite fun. A little bit of a fish out of water. I know he spent some time in Asia before on prior trips, but it was just cool to see him here and to see him seeing some of what has motivated me for the last 5 years. I think he could see how somebody like myself could say, wow, this is quite the adventure. I want to stay and see what's up. I want to participate. I want to hang out. I want to check this out. And so Larry and I had a chance to spend about 4 days around each other. And of course, with Larry, he's such an interesting guy. He just will speak his mind at any moment in time. And I just started saying, hey, Larry, can I turn the iPhone on and just start recording? And look, I do interviews a lot. So basically, I interviewed Larry over the course of the 4 days, a lot of different small clips. I will have to listen to them all to see what I can actually put out in public. Some of it a little randy, so to speak. I think one question I was asking Larry about my Trend Following book, my newest edition. He was actually holding it at the time. And of course, he's seen it. He's featured in it. But I asked him, I said, Larry, what about the book is good? What do you like about it? And he just gives this big smile and says, it's fucking good. Now I started cracking up, and I can't really post that because I don't think Larry would really want it out there. He might not care. I don't know. I'll ask him one day, but it's a really great endorsement. You know, you get one of the famed market wizards just saying about one of your books, it's fucking good. Come on, who gets that endorsement? That's fabulous. I love it, right? I want that kind of endorsement all day long. But in riffing with Larry and talking with Larry, I just started asking him all kinds of questions. And one of the ones that I asked, why will trend following never die? And he said quite clearly, very few people are not afraid of losing. Very few people are not afraid of losing. That's tough, right? Because most people are afraid of losing. People are afraid of losing on everything. The markets, life, friendship. People are just going through life basically afraid of losing everything. They're really not going to lose everything, but they spend their time in the mindset of, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose everything. I mean, for example, this podcast episode, I literally just recorded it, looked down, and realized after talking for a half hour, I did not have the record button on. I lost it. Now, I could either be so upset to be like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like doing that again. Or I can just be like very kind of chill and zen about it and say, you know what, that kind of stuff happens. Get back on the train and go for it again. Very few people are not afraid of losing. Now think about why Larry says that. Well, he knows from a trend following perspective, he's going to lose a lot. He's going to get a momentum signal to enter a trade. Maybe that trade will end up being a winning trend 40% of the time. That's not very good odds. Not very good odds at all. But he's got to play it that way because that's how you find the outlier trade. That's how you find the big winner. You don't do it that way, you don't really have a chance. You might get lucky, you might hear about your neighbor getting lucky, but that's not a system, that's not a process, that's not what you want to do. You want to model the behavior of the best. Now, I want to read a quote because this really gets at what Larry thinks. It's the way I think. But it's a quote from Tim Ferriss, the author. I think it's from episode 107 of his podcast, going back several years. And this is a quote from Tim. People view all of these people as massive risk takers. And when you actually sit down and talk to these guys, you realize they are expert risk mitigators. I think it's very easy to come to the mistaken conclusion in business, for example, that you only win big if you bet the farm. And in fact, when I talk to some of these companies here in Silicon Valley, for instance, that have become worth billions and billions of dollars, in my experience, in no case have they bet the farm. They have evaluated the downside. They've tried to measure the maximum allowable downside. They know not only their bet and their bet size, but when they're going to fold. They have an exit strategy for minimizing or capping losses. Quick hint, David Ricardo, 1700s, go Google it, let your winners run, cut your profits. Getting back to Tim, saying it again, they have an exit strategy for minimizing or capping losses. I remember hearing an expression, I don't know who to attribute this to, but it's like if you can cap your downside, the upside takes care of itself. If you take enough shots and you've constantly capped your downside, if you have a couple of outliers that give you disproportionate upside, in the long run, you're gonna average out ahead and beat most people. End quote, Tim Ferriss. That Tim Ferriss view, that's the view of success. That's the winning mindset. It's not the mindset of most people. Most people don't know that's the way to go. Most people have no earthly idea that what Tim just said, which is exactly what Larry believes. In fact, I'm sure the videos that I just shot with Larry, I'm sure he probably says exactly the same damn thing on many of the videos that I shot. And once you have this attitude that Larry has, that Tim has, the attitude that I also have, once you have this attitude, you could be kind of zen and peaceful about life. Because you know if you want to go take a shot, if you want to get in the game, here's how it works. And if you don't feel like putting forth that energy right now, You just sit back and do nothing. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to play in the game. But if you're going to play the game, know what the damn rules are. And that quote that I just read from Tim Ferriss, those are the rules of life. That's it, man. If you can follow that mindset, you've got a great chance at success. But let's face it, this is not normal. As I just said, this is not normal for most people. Most people come at this like this. They ask a question. What is the one thing you need to change that will make the greatest impact on your trading results? Now, that could be your life results, your family results, your job results, your career results, your kids' results. I don't care. But most people will ask a question like that because they think there's a silver bullet out there that they can find that will solve it all. What is the one thing you need to change that will make the greatest impact on your trading results? Real simple. Eliminate stupidity. Cut stupidity. Now you're already saying to yourself, oh my gosh, Mike, you're so arrogant. You think you're not stupid. I didn't say that. But I do a pretty good job of being self-aware. And when you're self-aware and you see a question like this, what is the one thing you need to change that will make the greatest impact on your trading results? If you're self-aware, you say, well, gosh, who are really the highest achievers? Let's go look at their behavior. Let's look at their strategy. Let's look at their process. Let's see what they do. And if you can start there, then you got something. Now, if you're just one of those people that says, fixing my trading results, one thing, it must be that I need to work on my time frame, or I need to work on my moving average breakout length. Oh yes, that will solve it. that will solve it. Come on. It's you. You're the problem. The one thing you can change is you. And that starts at the ground level, philosophical, psychological level. Then you're on to something. Then you can really make headway. But it usually doesn't work that way. Here's the way that it usually works. Somebody comes along and says, I want to make 1,000% per year. Oh, really? You want to make 1,000% per year? How many years in a row do you have to make 1,000% per year, compounded, before you own the entire stock market? Who dreams up these questions? Who in their right mind is thinking 1,000% per year is a good goal? Find me the quote market wizards like Larry, like many others. Find me the market wizards who make 1,000% per year every year. Where the hell are they? They don't exist. Back to stupidity. Now, it might be naive stupidity. I'm not saying somebody that asks for 1,000% per year is a mean person or a bad person, but they're still stupid. They still have a problem with the gray matter working correctly in a straight line. They're in la-la land. But you know what? La-la land is the way the world works these days, because la-la land is social media. All of these connected ways that we are across apps and groups and chat forums. So many voices, so many mindless voices, and good people getting confused, good people getting lost, and the maelstrom, the cacophony of the human hive mind spewing whatever it wants to spew. And if you don't have a good process, if you don't have a good strategy, you're going to listen to this stuff. You're going to keep listening. You're like, oh my gosh, I've got to work on this. I've got to work on that. I need to get 1,000% per year because my neighbor is getting 1,000% per year. No, your neighbor's not getting 1,000% per year. Nobody is. You got to stop that stuff. That doesn't help you. Absolutely no good. No bueno. But it doesn't stop there. I see it all the time. People write me and they want to know about setups and consolidations support and resistance, these kind of nebulous terms that have no specific meaning. But people have been trained by the voices out there in the ether. They've been trained to think that these words are important. So here's a quick mental exercise. If I tell you that you want to buy the highest high of 200 days, you can write that down on a piece of paper. I'm not saying you need to be a computer programmer, but you can write that down on a piece of paper and mathematically figure it out. Buy the highest high of 200 days. You can write that down. It's very clear. Now, on the flip side, if you said support, resistance, consolidation, and you write those words down on a piece of paper, what the hell do they mean? What does support and resistance mean? If there's no number, if there's no rule attached to it, it can mean anything. If it can mean anything, why do people want to use words that can mean anything? Because this is the fantasy. This is tattoo, the plane, right? This is what people want. Most people want the fantasy. And the fantasy is, oh, look at support, look at resistance, and there's a guy on TV, and he's wearing a suit, and he sounds smart, and he's drawing a line, and look at that line, and there's a second line, and a third line, and a fourth line, and there's some analysis. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. It never ends. Back to writing things down. Counting. Writing down and counting. Amazingly simple concepts. But if you can write down and you can count, the world is your oyster. You'll have so much success. Consolidation? Define that for me. What does that mean in terms of math? If you don't know, don't use the word. The idea here is to get a strategy that's repeatable, something that you can do over and over and over again, without having to be the imaginary fighter pilot strapped in the cockpit who has to make moment by moment death-defying decisions with your quick reflexes. Your quick reflexes have nothing to do with your success in life. Your quick reflexes are not going to change your relationships, your family, your money. I mean, it might change your family if somebody's about to get into a car accident and you can stop them and push them out of the way from getting hit. Of course, yes. But sound planning, sound decision-making, that's where it really starts. That's what I try to do in my world, is to give people all those insights. And look, I get the question many times, where do I start, Mike? There's too much here. Where do I start? Simple. Trendfollowing.com. Go to the nav bar at the top of the screen, all of those links. Go to the footer links, all of those links. Every one of those links, and it's not that many. I mean, it's like a book if you add it all up. A free book, frankly. But those links are filled with data, charts, analysis, PDFs, white papers. All the same kind of headspace where I'm going right now in this podcast across my website. Free, most of it, just dive right in. And in the footer, you will see also a couple links for the podcast specifically. One of the links is for my trend following episodes, the trend following specific episodes with those trend following traders. Now, look, my podcast has evolved over the years. It's got a lot of content from a lot of different people that have absolutely nothing to do with trend following formally. I guess informally, you could say they do, but nothing formally. So if you are interested in simply diving into only the trend following trading episodes, go to that link in the footer. That will get you started. I also get this request about my books. Where do I start? Now look, there's 5 or 6 books. Okay, that sounds odd. How do I not know exactly how many books I have? Because I've done multiple editions, many of those editions, brand new books, So let's just say 5, but in actuality, it's probably a lot more. But the 2 books that you should really dive into if you have not been exposed to my world, my trend following book and my complete turtle trader book. Trend following, kind of like a textbook with attitude that covers every last aspect of trend following. The proof, the data, the results, boom. The philosophy, the psychology, it's all there. The Turtle Trader book is a little different. A very famous story about a very wealthy guy taking beginners off the street, teaching them trend following methods, and within a few years, complete beginners making, in aggregate, 100 million plus. That's the Turtle Trader story. World famous, been around for a long time, but it's a great walkthrough. Real life, start to finish, a real true story. I mean, everything in my trend following book is true too, but my Turtle Trader book just walks you through the human condition navigating this minefield of the markets. There are so many voices out there. I mean, I can see the confusion across social media. People are literally just swamped. They don't know how to make a decision anymore. They're so scared about offending people, offending themselves. I don't know, but the search for truth has somewhat stopped. I mean, look at the politics of America. This nonsense of my side and your side. I see very bright people that I know that are so immersed in this stuff. I mean, look, I have fun occasionally ripping the hypocrisy of politics, but I don't live and breathe it. It's toxic. If you spend your life thinking your guy is better, we need to beat your guy in the American context, if you think that's the most important stuff, that some politician is going to solve your life for you, going to fix you, man, you're fucking crazy. What's going to fix you are the views that a guy like Larry Hite has. What's going to fix you is taking on the view that I read from Tim Ferriss. That's what's going to fix you, not this other stuff. This other stuff's all crazy. To fix that crazy, one last thing I want to mention today. As I've mentioned Larry Hite. Larry has a new book coming out in 2019. Now, that's not a PSA for Larry. Larry doesn't need my assistance on that. But I think it's really awesome that when a guy like Larry, who started with 0, takes us on his journey to go from 0 to a bloody fortune. That's fun. That's exciting. I can't wait to see it. Because Larry is a guy that had all kinds of disadvantages coming along, but he stuck with it. He knew about strategy. He knew about process. He knew if he had a good strategy, a good process, and he stuck with it, he knew there was a chance for success. Not a guarantee, but he knew that if this process kept going, he would be there for one of the outlier trades, the trend following mindset. And Larry was one of the first people to actually introduce me to the trend following mindset across something like relationships, dating. Yeah, sounds harsh. But what's more harsh? Spending all your time with the wrong person, or if you're with the wrong person, cutting your losses and getting the hell out. Because there is 7.5 billion people on this planet. And we can all have the opportunity to find the right person for us in that right moment in time if we have good strategy. As a male, if our only strategy is she is a female, man, we are destined for trouble. That's not some kind of sexist remark. I'm just saying that so many guys, and I can only speak from a guy's perspective, but so many guys don't make good decisions for them for their long term. Women need to do the same thing. Women need to make good decisions for themselves for the long term. Everyone does. And the trend following mindset really helps that. So stay away from questions like, what is the one thing you need to change that will make the greatest impact on your trading results? Stay in the mindset of the great traders. Stay in the mindset of what I read from Tim Ferriss. If you can stay there, you've just got the best opportunity to get ahead. Now, of course, if you're into fun and games and you want to talk about consolidation and support and resistance, and you want to watch guys on the financial channels drawing squiggly lines on squiggly charts, and you want to imagine that they can give you the secret sauce, the one tip that will make you a market wizard, well, my gosh, don't let Mike Covel spoil the fantasy. I sure don't want to do that. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.